Hey guys, today I want to show you a few new pedals that I just got from my pedal board. So this is the BBE Windowpane, and as the name says right here, it's a silicone fuzz. Now I haven't really used a fuzz pedal, not for a very long time, believe it or not, even though I'm a huge Jimi Hendrix fan, right? So I grew up with Jimi Hendrix, he was my guitar idol. And I had the Jimi Hendrix pedal, which had a built-in fuzz on on a few of the different settings. But I never actually bought a standalone fuzz pedal. I guess maybe because I had a lot of overdrives and some distortion pedals, and I just thought that those were enough. Didn't think about getting a fuzz pedal or a standalone fuzz pedal. But I saw this one on sale on eBay, and I thought just to give it a shot, why not, right? This is by a very good company, BBE. I already have their BBE wah. I've had their delay before, as well as the Green Screamer overdrive. They make very good pedals for the price. So generally their pedals are not very expensive, but they are very good. Very good quality, and the sound quality is very good as well. So I feel like BBE makes some pretty good pedals for the money. Very good value pedals. And this one is no exception, right? So the silicone fuzz is built to be just a fuzz pedal, but it's not your typical silicone fuzz pedal, because most people, when they think of silicone fuzz pedals, they think of this really like harsh sounding fuzz, which is not true, right? You can bias your pedals, right? In this case, you can bias your transistors to be more or less harsh, right? So I know a lot of people prefer germanium fuzz pedals because germanium has a so-called warmer sound. But as BBE states on their website, that's all due to how the pedals are biased, right? So they biased this pedal to, even though it uses a silicon transistor, not a germanium, they biased it so that the silicon, actually they rolled off the treble on one of the transistors, because this fuzz is a 2-transistor pedal, just like the Dallas Arbiter fuzz face, right? It is not a 3-transistor pedal, not like the Tone Bender, right? So they just rolled off the treble on one of the transistors, and that makes it a little bit more warmer than your typical silicon fuzz pedal. So I think that's a pretty interesting tweak that they did, and it should sound a little bit less bright, a little bit less harsh compared to other silicon fuzz pedals. So let's give it a shot. So right now I don't have any other effects turned on. I have a bunch of other true bypass pedals in the chain, but I'm not going to turn any of them on. I have a buffer, and that's about it. Just a buffer and a bunch of true bypass pedals, which is what you should have in a chain like this. So I'm gonna set the volume and fuzz. Actually, let's start out with the fuzz. Turn all the way down, just the volume up, so you guys can hear just the volume boost. There's no fuzz going on, right? So this is just the volume boost. Actually, you hear my guitar clean first. I'm playing on the neck pickup right now, which is a P90 pickup. Right, and the bridge pickup is a mini humbucker. Okay, now with the pedal turned on, the volume set to noon. So you can see, even with the fuzz turned all the way down, it's almost like rolling back the tone control on my guitar. Like I'm losing a lot of my high end. So yeah, be careful of that, especially when you're using fuzzes with wahs in the chain. But in this case, I have the fuzz turned all the way down, but even with all the way down, with the volume up, if we turn the volume all the way up here, so you can hear there's the high end has been rolled off, right? Now you're just hearing the low end. It's like I turned back my tone control knob, which I did not, right? It's as if I turned down my tone control knob. Okay, which is interesting. And of course, if you turn the volume all the way down, you won't hear anything. Okay, so that's interesting. If I turn the fuzz off, it's almost like it rolls off my my highs. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of fuzz in. Right, still a little bit muffled, but you can hear the distortion out. Right, and then you can turn it to noon. I think maybe this is just the fuzz circuit, right? Because I know fuzz is a hard clip, so maybe I'm just used to playing with overdrives, because I have a bunch of different overdrive pedals, and overdrives tend to keep your high end. Fuzzes looks like, even set to noon, they're taking off a lot of my high end here. Just give me a really fast sound, but they're like rolling down my treble or something like that. Like they're rolling down my highs. But maybe that's just how fuzzes are. I don't know. This is actually my first standalone fuzz pedal. So this is at noon, right? On the neck pickup. And then a lot of sustain, right? Because fuzz is basically the hardest hitting. Like think of an overdrive, right? Think of a distortion, then think of a fuzz, right? A fuzz is gonna hit your amp the hardest, right? A lot of gain for fuzz pedals. And then that's neck pickup, then bridge pickup. Again on the mini humbucker. All right. Then if you turn fuzz all the way up, you can hear some really loud noise. I'll get back to neck pickup. I'm getting a little bit of my high and back, right? Because I think it's engaging the full fuzz sound, if you will, right? Because before we saw, even on the noon position, it sounds a bit muffled, right? It's like my high end has been turned down, my tone control has been turned down. Then maybe at the, if you turn it over to the 3 o'clock setting, okay, I can hear a bit of my high end actually coming back. So maybe this is just the circuit, right? The way that BBE designed this circuit is you kind of have to turn your fuzz. I would say it doesn't sound very good, even at noon. It's like once I turn it at least to the 3 o'clock setting, then I get some of my highs back. Then it starts to sound a lot better. Neck pickup. Then bridge pickup. Yeah, definitely hearing some of my highs coming back in. So that's really interesting. So you kind of have to turn up the fuzz, I guess, to get some of the highs back in. Of course, at full settings, first neck. Yeah, now I can get pretty loud. And then on the bridge setting. Now you start to hear some of those classic fuzz tones. You start to hear some of the classic fuzz tones there. Yeah, now you start to hear some of those classic fuzz tones, right? But it's only if you turn the fuzz up. Yeah, that's interesting. If you keep it just on like on noon, you don't really get much of a fuzz sound at all. So I find with this pedal, you really have to turn up the fuzz to actually get the recognizable fuzz tone. All right, so that's the BBE Windowpane silicon fuzz I wanted to demonstrate. The next pedal that I got, next new pedal that I got is the Boss Wazacraft Dimension C, and I actually use this in combination with the DM-2W delay. Adds a lot of atmospheric tone. The Dimension C is based on it's actually based on old Roland rack effect in the 80s, which a lot of artists used back then. And then they made a pedal version of it, and it's been discontinued for quite some time. And now they finally, a few years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, I think, they re-released this pedal in a Wazacraft fashion. You can switch between the original, this is the original pedal, DC-2, and then you can switch to the STD-320 rack effect, which was the roll-in rack effect this pedal was based on. So let's start with the S, that's standard. I think the S setting, there's 4 different modes here you can select. Each mode is like different chorusy type effects, right? I guess you can think of this as a chorus, but it's not exactly like other choruses. Like, it's not so prominent, right? It's like it'll double the sound and tone, but it's not like super noticeable, right? And that's why a lot of people like this effect. Like me, I don't really like choruses in general, but this effect's pretty interesting and unique. So you really have to hear it. All right, so I'm gonna keep on S setting, which I think is a little bit more aggressive compared to the rack setting. But let's try it first with mode 1. Okay, this is mode 1. So you can hear this is the chorus setting effect, right? Definitely a chorus effect, but it's a little bit more subtle than your typical chorus effect. So that's mode 1. Then mode 2, right? This is how mode 2 sounds like. So everything's played on the neck position so far. So yeah, it's still the chorus effect. All these modes are very similar, but they're a little bit different, but it's always very subtle, right? So that was mode 2, and then mode 3. See, now we're starting to get into something that sounds a little bit like a Univibe or a Leslie speaker. So that's kind of interesting. So that's mode 3, and then mode 4. Again on the standard setting. So it's very atmospheric. So all the modes are slightly different. They're I mean, they're reasonably close to each other, but they're all slightly different, different chorus type effects. And go back to mode 1, which I think is a little bit less aggressive compared to the other modes. You know, at least compared to mode 4, this one's less aggressive. So those are all the standard modes, and I want to switch over to the STD-320 mode, which is the original rolling rack effect, because this is even more subtle, and I feel like it adds a little bit more ambience to my tone. This is the mode 1 is generally what I use the most, just because it's so subtle. This is probably the most subtle effect on this pedal is the STD-320 mode 1. Okay. Subtle, just thickens up your tone without making it look too obvious that you're using a chorus, right? So that's mode 1, which I really like, probably my favorite. And then mode 2. Mode 3. So in general, I think the higher up in the modes you go, the more the swirling effect becomes more prominent. It becomes a little bit more intense, I guess. And then mode 4. Then going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 is like the most wet. So you can definitely add a lot of atmosphere to your tone. And personally, I do like the STD 320 setting better than the S setting. It's a little bit more subtle in general, I feel. So yeah, I really like the Boss Dimension C DC-2W pedal. Definitely has a lot of ambience. Nice So that's the Boss DC-2W pedal. Very nice. And actually I want to show you guys how this pedal sounds with the delay on. So this is a Wazacraft delay, right? The DM2W also has a custom switch. For this one just adds a longer delay time. The original standard, I usually use the standard effects because like the 300 milliseconds is fine. But if you want the longer delay times, you can use the C, right? I usually put it to middle intensity, repeat rate, and yeah, echo. So I tune up there. This is using the chorus with the delay now. So that's yeah, the C setting can get pretty crazy. Yes, you can have lots of fun with an echo pedal like this. Oh man, okay, you can get pretty crazy. Yep. So yeah, that's a C. If you want to like have some really crazy delay echo effects, you can switch to the C setting. And then the S setting is just normally what I use because this is like a little bit less crazy. It's like your standard analog delay setting, but a darker analog delay compared to something like the MXR Carbon Copy, which has a more brighter tone. I would say, actually no, I wouldn't say that. They have a Carbon Copy bright too. I'm thinking of the Ibanez Maxon AD900. That's the one I'm thinking of. But that one's also pretty dark. So yeah, I mean, I guess analog delays are generally kind of dark, and then they have like more brighter delays as well. But yeah, I would say the DM-2W is pretty good analog delay. The original DM2 is one of the most popular analog delays, right? One of the best ones back then, along with the Ibanez Maxon 8900 and the MXR carbon copy, I would say. Very good. So yeah, that's the Boss Dimension C and the Boss DM-2W Wazacraft delay. And now we come up to my last new pedal that I got, which is a replacement for my aging Boss RC-3. So originally I had a Boss RC-3, I had it since 2012, I think, so about 8 years. And then the thing actually is still a really good pedal. If you see a Boss RC-3, it's still a really good pedal. But one of the things I didn't like about it was that there was limited memory, so you could only store like 2 gigs worth of loops on that. And then another thing was the limited amount of rhythm tracks on it. I think there was only like 7 different rhythms on it. And then this is the new Boss RC-5, which kind of fixes those issues, right? First of all, this has 14 gigs of storage space on it. That's a lot of loops, right? And you can store a lot more of 14 gigs than on 2 gigs. And then it has a whole bunch of different rhythms, like way more than the RC-3. So I'm just gonna go through this pedal. Is a very this is a pedal that you can just use. For me as a solo artist, it's very, very useful. And basically, it's like almost like, you know, some of those pedals like band jam creators or something like that. It's like a band in a box, right? Like the Digitech Trio. But this, for me, I've always used a looper pedal, and for me, the Boss Loop Station has always been my go-to. And you can do so much with it, right? You have a MIDI in out on top. And you have DC input. It still uses USB-B, unfortunately. It doesn't use USB-C. Use USB-B right there. But at least it's faster than the USB 2 that was on the Boss RC3. And then you have 3 inputs right here. You got one for memory shift. Then you got input A and input B. If you have stereo, you can, you know, put 2 inputs and 2 outputs because it supports stereo. And then yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, you can also put I guess some kind of pedal right here for tap tempo, and you have tap tempo right here. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of things you can do here. So here you can set the tempo, right? This is for the current track, for the current rhythm. So yeah, you can go for memory. So usually this is set up, right? You can go general, you can do display, display mode, and then next min, max, undo, redo, hold. You can change all these different settings. And then you can go control, pedal function, you can change the controller function. I'm gonna use a controller right now, but of course you can plug in a controller. So you can plug in a whole bunch of different controllers there. MIDI, right? I don't use a MIDI, but there's also all these different MIDI settings, clock out, sync start, USB through, okay, MIDI through. And then storage, right? If you're connecting this to PC, remember you gotta go here. Right, if you're connecting to your PC, your computer actually won't see it, and then you gotta turn the storage on, right? And once you turn it on, then it will connect to the computer. So you gotta go here first and then reset as well. Now note that if you can't just you can't just move your Boss RC3 WAV files over to your Boss RC5. It doesn't work like that. What you gotta do is, I gotta open up the Boss Tone Station or Tone Studio. You gotta download this Boss Tone Studio application. And then you got to use that application to import your old WAV files and then export it to your Boss RC5 while the RC5 is connected to the PC. So remember to do that, otherwise it'll say something like unsupported file format or something like that. So you can't just copy it over because apparently they use different file formats or something. So you got to format it using the Boss Tone Studio software, and then you can put all your tracks on the Boss RC5. So that's just the FYI. I was wondering why I couldn't just move all my files over. You got to convert them. So that's kind of a pain, but that's what you got to do. And then memory loop, rhythm, so you can loop, reverse, one-shot level, chord action play. There's a whole bunch of settings that I can never do on the RC3. And honestly, it's pretty overwhelming because I never had all these different settings on my RC3. These are all with the RC-5. So I'm gonna have to take some time to learn what all these different things are. Level, reverb, the pattern. This is for the rhythm, variation, change measure, studio, beat, 4/4, loop start, loop stop, record count, play count, fill, part 1, part 2. Yeah, so this reminds me of the Beat Buddy pedal. So this thing can really be a band in a box, basically. It's a band in a box pedal as well, just not just a looper. You can change the name of the memory, and yeah, so that's the memory. And then this is the rhythm, right? So we turn the rhythm, you turn the tempo, you turn the tempo down, right? Want a slower tempo. Yeah, 40 is the lowest it goes, but you can go, what's the max it goes? Pretty crazy. 300 is the most you can go, 40 is the lowest you can go, and just keep it at 100. So there's a lot more different rhythms in here than in the RC3 for sure. The RC3 only had like 7. So I think I'm gonna, okay, so you can change the level. This is how you remember in the RC3 you had this knob, you can change the level right there. So it's kind of annoying now. You got to go into a menu setting to change the change the level, which is a lot more steps, right? I'd rather just have like a contour knob, which was on the RC3. Okay, so change the level to be a little bit smaller so I can hear myself. Reverb, this is reverb on the drums, I believe, on the beat. And then we can actually test this out. So this is simple beat, okay? Simple beat 2. I'll just go through all of them. Simple beat 3, simple beat 4, loop beat. There's a lot of different rhythms here. Side stick, yeah. Percussion beat, Latin beat, conga, bossa, samba, dance beat, metronome. This is pretty simple. And then you can put your own custom rhythms, I guess. So yeah, there is a lot of different rhythms here, like way more than the RC3, right? A lot of different ones here. I think for me, I'll probably go to the shuffle. I like the shuffle. Okay, I'm gonna keep it in shuffle. I'm gonna add more reverb to it. So now you can hear it. The drums are getting deeper. Now this is like kind of like when the levee breaks kind of thing, right? The drums are in like a huge echo chamber. So I can put it down to no reverb, right? No reverb at all. But I want to have some reverb, so I'm gonna keep it there. Okay, and you can do variations. There's even variations with these. Within all these different rhythms, there's variations, so that's really cool. Variations basically double the amount of rhythms. Variation change measure, you can change loop end. Okay. Then you can change the kit. So studio, rock, jazz, brush, Pigeon, R&B, 808 plus 909. some pretty interesting kits you can use there as well. Beats, you can do 4/4, or you can actually, maybe I can't change this one for this one. I think start, loop start, stop, loop stop, back count off, then count off. Fill is on, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, tone low, tone high, so many different settings here. Okay, level, a little bit lower. Okay, I wonder if the regular one, I can change the beat. Maybe not. Shuffle 4. This one we use here. Alright. Alright, then I can record something because it's a loop station, right? So I can record my own overdubs onto this rhythm beat. Okay. That was me recording several overdubs onto the track that the rhythm setup that I just made, and yeah, that's basically it. Pretty easy. It's just a bit more complicated than the RC3 because there's so many different settings, right? There's so many different rhythms for it, and you gotta like get the right one. And I know this is just a much more powerful pedal than my RC3 was. So yeah, the RC5 is really cool. And then of course, if you want to save it, right now this is an empty space, so I just like double tap that and it says utility write, right? And then I can actually write this utility, write memory right here, and then it'll write it, and that means it's permanently saved. Now if I go to another memory and come back, this is what I recorded. So yeah, it saves it permanently once you write it. But yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, like 14 gigs of space. That's a lot of space to put your loops on. That's a lot better than my RC3 because I constantly ran out of space on my RC3. So anyways, guys, that is the Loop Station RC5. I think it's a really cool pedal. A huge upgrade over my RC3. So definitely check this pedal out if you're interested in basically playing solo like me. You don't have a band and you like to play over loops and background tracks, then this is a song for you. So yeah, now I'm going to play a song called Maggot Brain, which a lot of you may know, right? It's a guitar instrumental, a solo, and I'm going to be using all these effects together, including the loop station, right? So I'm going to use the delay, I'm going to use the dimension chorus. I'm going to use the compressor, the silicon fuzz, the Echoplex, and I'm of course going to use this loop pedal. Right. So I'm going to make this it makes this loop a little bit more, yeah, level, just a little bit more. All right, so the 70 is fine. All right. Okay. Yep. So I'm gonna use the Maggot Brain loop, and then I'm gonna play for you guys Maggot Brain using all these effects together. You know, the delay, the dimension chorus, the compressor, fuzz, and the I think I talked about this before, but this is the Dunlop Echoplex preamp, which simulates the preamp section of the Maestro Echoplex. Just adds a little bit more of a high end onto my tone, and it's a booster as well. So I'm gonna use all these effects together and show you guys Maggot Brain using all these effects combined. So stay tuned. Oh yes, and of course I'm going to be using the BBE wah pedal. This is the wah pedal that I use, made by BBE. It's called the bend wah because it's got the bend symbol on here, which signifies origin or root in kanji and in Chinese. And then this is a wah pedal that's really good. I really like it. I've been using it for pretty much everything. Like all my wah songs, every song I use wah for, I use this pedal on. Haven't felt the need to upgrade or change it. Just a really nice wah pedal. Uses a halo inductor, right? That's the same inductor that the old Vox Clyde McCoy wahs had. Then you can adjust the harmony, which is basically the Q setting. Now you can adjust the Q curve right here. And yeah, otherwise just a really nice wah, nice travel, can adjust the settings. Sounds very vintage because it has the vintage halo inductor. So yeah, I'm gonna be using this on Maggot Brain, of course. Alright guys, so now I'm gonna play the beginning of Maggot Brain. I'm just gonna play a little bit before I play a more full-featured version. So I'm gonna turn on all my pedals, the Echoplex preamp, the fuzz. I'm gonna turn all the fuzz all the way up, the compressor, the dimension chorus, the delay, and of course the loop station. So let's begin, and of course the wah later as well. Just a taste, right? And I'll be playing a more fully featured version now, so stay tuned guys. Of course I'll be using all the exact same effects. You see every effect is on, just these effects, and especially the chorus, the delay, and the loop station. Of course the loop station is necessary for the track. But the rest of the effects really add to it. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoy it.